Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Star Rail. I have just watched and recorded the 2.4 live stream for Honkai Star Rail. The next patch is coming up in, what, about a week and a half? Looks freaking awesome. We're going to break down the highlights today, check out the new characters, give my thoughts on them, and also we've got obviously the information on the upcoming banners and what's going to be happening there. By the way, this will be in the description. These are the 3 promo codes, each one giving you 100 Stellar Jade, plus a couple of other little bits. So yeah, that will be linked down below. So if you want to go grab those, yeah, they'll be in the description, or you can just type them off the screen, whatever you want. But yeah, make sure to grab the promo codes. And yeah, first off, I don't think I've done this before, but let's look at the trailer. They put a cool trailer at the start of this that actually shows some of the upcoming characters. So I might pause and stuff as we go through, but yeah, let's take a look. Let's go.
Coming back to this place brings back so many memories. You know?
There you are! Everyone, this way!
The Xianzhou La Fu will be holding the Luminary Combat Art Ceremony. Your presence would be greatly appreciated.
Why are there Boris in here?
Ooh, badass.
Right on time.
Hello there. Hey, old metal. Which one do you want to strike?
They're a new enemy type as well. I think Yunli's freaking cool, man. Giant sword.
Look at how hard I've been training.
And this is the new form of March. She looks hilarious. We're gonna check out her stuff later on as well.
The La Fu is completely different from the one on the Jiaoqiu. It's completely underwater.
Jiaoqiu.
Wherever crowds gather, there is always an undercurrent beneath the surface.
I love him. I love him.
Since you're already here.
I love the style. I dig it of he's wearing this long jacket, but then the sleeves are hanging off, right? The sleeves are like a cape. Yeah, that's badass. It's cool.
Why not have a meal before you leave?
My first meal
Hanya.
after gaining my freedom.
And there's... So it's not Mose, it's Moza, I think. I keep struggling with these names. They're so hard to pronounce because they're so unusual in the pronunciation compared to normal English stuff. I think Moza, but it's cool to see him. We know that he's the upcoming 4-star in the next patch. So that's cool to see him in action. Yanxing in action as well.
My condolences.
Wei Yi is dead. Now, she's a robot, right? Wei Yi's a robot, so looks like she's gonna die, but I guess be rebuilt. I don't know, or maybe she's just knocked out, but that's sick.
Memories of chasing.
Yanxing. Looks like he's fighting Yunli. Badass new enemy. Moza doing stuff. Don Hung.
They want, I'm always up for a challenge.
There she is, Fei Xiao. So we know her. We've got the drip marketing for her. She is the Wind Hunt character. She is the general of, I can't remember now, but one of the other Xianzhou ships. Now, what's interesting here is in the drip marketing, she has a flag and she has a gunblade. Here, she's got a giant axe. So I don't know what's happening with this character. Apparently lots of stuff, but she's looking badass. And there we go. I think that's pretty awesome. So that's the big, let me actually grab this over because I've got timestamps for where I'm going next. That's the big event. That's the sort of the story of this upcoming patch. I think it looks freaking cool. Shackling prison, right? Going in there, seeing what's happening, some sort of mysterious enemy. Yeah, I liked it. They started it off well, actually. This whole nostalgia of returning to the Xianzhou. I think that's quite nice, coming back in. I like this. The finest jewel under the pristine blue. That part of the story is going to be obviously what's this mysterious threat that's breaking free from this prison. The other half is that, oh, there's this big tournament being organized on the, I think it's on the La Fu. So again, it's coming back, this really beautiful sort of, sunny artwork. It's lovely. And then, yeah, the contrast with the darkness of the prison looks great. I dig the setting of this patch. I think it's a really fun sort of B patch, effectively, right? So it looks cool. Awesome. Let's jump ahead and look at some of the characters then. All right, jumping ahead then in the program, let's take a look at this. So Yunli in combat. Let's go.
As a physical type character following the path of destruction.
So, yeah, 5-star physical destruction, by the way. I just love this giant sword. It's so freaking cool, man. Just little kid, you know me, I'm not usually a big fan of these sort of the child characters, but there's something about absolutely massive, ridiculous sword. That's like, okay, you know what? That's actually kind of cool. It's very Dark Souls. Let's go.
Isn't really my style.
Animations are great.
When using my skill, I restore my own HP while dealing physical damage to a single target and adjacent enemies.
So blast skill, the self-healing that we saw there, fairly minimal. It's not too much. Interesting, you can already see that her ultimate is 2 charges. I actually like that. I think they've made it a bit more clear. The little pips beside the ultimate, 1 and 2. I don't know if that was there before for characters like Argenti, because I've played very little Argenti. I just use them, you know, from supports for some Calyxes and stuff, right? But 2 charges on her ultimate, so that's quite fun as well.
What really sets Yunli apart in combat is the way she counters the enemy. When attacked, she immediately launches a counter on the attacker, dealing damage to the target and adjacent enemies.
I love that. She just throws the sword. How cool is that? But yeah, so every time, I believe it's every time she's attacked, she counterattacks. This is very powerful. So I can, I remember seeing people saying, oh, Yunli, she's just power creeping Clara. I mean, let's be real. 5-star physical destruction, 5-star physical destruction. When they're attacked, they counterattack. Yeah, it definitely seems like a very direct power creep. And then I think especially, you know, we've got Don Hung, basic form, his wind hunt being power crept, looks like by Fei Xiao next patch. That's not such a big deal. He's a 4-star, so it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, Clara is a 5-star character, so she's being power crept. I'd say that's, you know, we've already seen Bailu be power crept by, you know, let's say Huahua. We've seen Japard really been power crept by Aventurine. Sparkle somewhat power crept Bronya, not quite. Bronya still has some teams where she is better, and then in some teams Sparkle is better. But I think you definitely would expect the 5-star standard characters to all be. In fact, I think at this point they probably all have been, except for Himiko. They all have been power crept, really. But yeah, so pretty direct power creep. I think this counter stuff also has huge potential for Apocalyptic Shadow. I was doing a little bit yesterday. By the way, I got a video coming out on not Pure Fiction, Memory of Chaos tomorrow. Make sure to check that out. I recorded that a day or 2 ago. It will be out tomorrow for the weekend. Should be fun. But I've done a little bit of Apocalyptic Shadow since then. One thing about Apocalyptic Shadow, you are constantly being hammered by attacks. Like, the enemies are really fast. So I actually think that characters like Yunli with counterattacks, and likewise characters like Clara or Blade, have a ton of potential. I also think Yunli's self-healing could actually be quite useful to try keep you alive and keep you going. Like, when you're up against a tough Apocalyptic Shadow, she could actually potentially be very strong. Whereas, you know, counterattacking, it's easy to see, like, against some easier content, slower enemies not being that useful.
There's a grudge
cool, though.
And knows friend from foe. She doesn't mess around.
You gotta use the
smash that
enemy's
bug.
strength against them. After using my
Smashes the
ultimate,
bug.
I acquire the parry state, which allows me to sustain lower damage and taunt all enemies. In addition,
Love
my
it.
ordinary counter is upgraded to powerful
Look
counter,
at this.
which deals higher damage.
Oh my god.
You seem well versed in the art of the count.
How freaking cool is that? So I love it. Again, it's so Dark Souls, the giant sword and then parry. Yeah, come on. So her ultimate, she goes into a parry state, taunts all the enemies. Then when they attack her, she does this ridiculously huge counterattack. I think that's so sick. She takes less damage as well. So you could potentially like direct single target hits to her. I think that's pretty cool to protect your team a bit. She gets to counter. Yeah, badass.
One assumes
So cool.
that surprise attacks during exploration aren't a concern for you?
Nope.
This is badass as
Using my
well.
technique, I obtain a special effect for a set duration. If an enemy launches an attack during that duration, the attack is blocked. And upon entering battle, I launch a powerful counter on a random enemy.
Imagine you've
How
hardly
cool.
regained your footing.
The animations are just sick. The absolute, like, look at the size of that sword. Like, you can see her on the left. She's tiny, and it's this gigantic sword. That's so funny, man. That's so funny. I wonder, I feel like some enemies, like going into MOC and stuff, that they just stand there. I don't think they attack you. Maybe they'll change it so they do. But it seems like this technique might not work. Like blocking an enemy that attacks you, great for exploration, kind of fun. But it seems like it might not work for like some MOC and Pure Fiction enemies. Like, I feel like they just stand there and wait for you to attack them. So that's a bit of a downside for her. But
When a girl with a giant blade comes running straight for you.
yeah, it's cool.
Which reminds me, in version 2.4.
Oh yeah, and then she's gonna have a companion mission, which is cool. So there we go. That's our look at Yunli. Honestly, I think she looks freaking cool. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be pulling for it. We'll talk about it when we get to the banners. Let's maybe look at the other characters first. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna pull for her. I think she looks really fun. Like her ultimate having the charges, I think that's really good for her as well, because then you can choose, you know, when to so you can be like, okay, I'll let the little, and let's say you're fighting a boss and some mini, like, little side enemies, some minions. Okay, we'll let the minions attack whoever. Oh, the boss is coming up. Now I can jump in with their ultimate because I've got 2 charges. I'm not going to be like overcapping and wasting energy. Like, it can still build up on my second charge. Oh, I can taunt the boss with my ultimate and make the boss attack Yunli. That's great. Like, that's so good to then protect your team, get the damage out on the target you want. It seems like there's quite a lot of, I think there's going to be quite fun gameplay to her, honestly. And I think she, like I said, has good potential for things like Apocalyptic Shadow, etc. Right, let's skip on ahead and let's check out Jiaoqiu. All right, and here we are. Let's check out Jiaoqiu. So he's a 5-star fire nihility. And again, speaking of power creep, it does seem like he's fairly directly power creeping Guinaifen from what I've seen from looking at his stuff. Who's a 4-star fire nihility with like blast damage and burns and making enemies take more damage. Let's take a look at him though. Let's go.
I think it's time we took a look at what our delicious doctor can do on the battlefield.
Now, one thing that's weird, again, he's a doctor. This is bizarre to me. They keep saying that like he's a healer, he's a doctor. I'm a cook, but I'm really a healer. But as far as I can tell, there's like 0 healing in his kit. Like, he's all about damage and debuffs. It's quite strange. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Well,
really weird.
About time. I am a fire type character on the path of nihility. When
He's very
using my
fun.
technique during exploration, I create a special dimension. After entering battle with an enemy within the dimension, I inflict them with fire damage. And there's
Yeah,
a possibility
cool.
of following up with a stack of ashen roast.
Okay, so yeah, he puts his technique down. Again, it's a dimension, so you can only have 1 dimension active at a time, but that's still pretty good. And it means that you can like attack with somebody else if you want to trigger, you know, attack with the correct element, or if you've got people with an attack technique, they can throw it in too. Yeah, it does fire damage and then can potentially apply Ashen Roast. They'll talk more about this in a second.
Debuff.
So, we're cooking the enemy alive?
Ashen Rose.
Yeah, I'm a healer. How do you heal people? By cooking my enemies alive. Oh, okay. Thanks, doctor. That's great. Wow. Fantastic. My broken leg will be fixed in no time. Thank you.
Turns up the heat by causing enemies to sustain greater damage. Any attack that Jiaoqiu lands on an enemy has a chance of inflicting Ashen Roast.
Indeed. Case in point, if I were to use my skill to deal blast damage,
Okay, so blast damage skill, fire damage, cool, straightforward. And then, yeah, he's applying Ashen Roast when it's interesting he's got a chance. But like, this seems to me so much like Guinaifen, right? Guinaifen has a blast skill, fire damage. You know, she applies Fire Kiss, which makes enemies take more damage. He applies Ashen Roast. As far as I can tell, he is literally... His ultimate's a bit different, but he's so similar to Guinaifen, honestly.
there would be a chance of simultaneously inflicting a stack of ashen roast.
Animations
on the
are
target.
sick.
Did you just throw spices into the battlefield?
He's got a little
Sharp
star
eyes,
anise. It's
General.
kind of fun.
After launching my ultimate, the battlefield becomes an enormous yuan-yang hot pot.
So I like this. So you can see he's got the 3 pips, right? At his, so I think it's like a Ron Mei sort of thing, or yeah, but Ron Mei's with her skill. This is with his ultimate. It looks like it's 3 turns, right? You put down a field for 3 turns.
The enemies are trapped in a searing broth,
Looks
which
cool.
inflicts damage on each and every
I love this
one.
shot. Boom.
At the
Oh,
same
it's so
time,
badass.
The effects of Ashen Roast are compounded for enemies inflicted with the debuff, in line with the current highest number of stacks. Immediately after, a field appears, which lasts for a set number of turns.
Whew, all these hot
So he like increases all enemies' Ashen Roast stack. So like Fire Kiss, they're gonna take more damage. Cool. And then it persists as a field.
visuals are making me hungry again. What does this field do exactly?
Yeah, what's the field
Enemies
do?
within the field sustain greater ultimate damage. And during their action, there is a chance they will be inflicted by a stack of Ashen Roast.
Cool. It reminds me definitely of Black Swan. Whenever they take an action, you know, they're getting this Ashen Roast thing, taking more ultimate damage. Like this is, I can see people were saying like, oh, he's going to be amazing for Acheron. You can definitely see that. In fact, like the team in the background, Acheron, Jiaoqiu, and then Pela. Yeah, okay. Makes a lot of sense. He's upping the damage that they take from ultimates. So characters with really powerful ultimates. Acheron is the classic example where I think 75% roughly of her damage comes directly from her ultimate. Jiaoqiu then will also be very strong anytime you've got like a blessing in MOC or Apocalyptic Shadow, etc. that makes ultimates do more damage. He's going to be very powerful there. Yeah, and every time they take a turn, they get a debuff, so he's going to stack up Acheron really fast. So he really does seem very much designed for Acheron. Right, applies lots of debuffs. It's like Gwynaifen on steroids. It's like Gwynaifen, except also with ultimate damage boost. So yeah, seems like an amazing character to combo with your Acheron.
It would follow that if, for example, Acheron were on the team, you would
we
be
go.
able to help her acquire ultimate charges more quickly.
Yep.
Absolutely right.
Nice of you to invite the enemy to dinner.
So there we go. That's Jiaoqiu. He definitely seems to me like very much Acheron's partner. I actually think he looks really cool. I love his design. Like the whole coat thing is badass. His animations are sick. He looks awesome. I'll be interested to see his gameplay. Like for me, I already have Gwynaifen, you know, quite decently. Like I've got her leveled up. I've got her traces pretty much done. I'm not super convinced that I need him instead of Gwynaifen. I guess it will depend a bit how he goes with like dot teams, but I think ultimate damage boost is not that useful to dot teams. So yeah, I don't know. Like, is he needed over a Gwynaifen? I guess it's the similar thing with Yunli. Is Yunli needed over a Clara if you've got them already? I'm not sure. For me, I don't have any Clara. Never pulled her, ever. So I'm definitely thinking of Yunli. She looks badass, and she looks really fun to play with. More fun than Clara. Clara's more straightforward, isn't she? Like, her ultimate doesn't attack, it just taunts enemies. Whereas Yunli has got more of that parry play style. That seems quite fun. So Yunli seems like an upgraded Clara. Jiaoqiu definitely seems like an upgraded Gwynaifen, but I'm not entirely sold on him being needed yet, unless you've got Acheron. As you guys know, if you've seen the channel before, I'm not really that big a fan of Acheron. I don't have her, and I probably won't be pulling her in the future. I just don't like her that much. So for me, Jiaoqiu seems like probably a skip. Probably quite a safe skip, actually. As you know, I more prefer building along the Harmony. I like Harmony characters and that sort of stuff. I do like Nihility. I like dot teams, but I'm not sure. Is he that different from Gwynaifen for the dot team? Don't know that he is. So yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on him. Let's jump ahead to March 7th. Actually, I lied. We're going to check out the warps first. So these are the banners. Okay, it is banner time, and these are very, very spicy. So in phase 1, the first half, it is obviously Yunli alongside Huahua. Abundance, Wind, yes, 5-star. Then we've got Hanya, Yukong, and Lynx on the banners. I believe this is the first time Yukong is rerun apart from her launch. I've heard that like people just don't have her at all. Now this is quite interesting. So Hanya is sort of a budget Sparkle. I believe that Hanya was released just before Sparkle, so I've really seen very little on her and very few people using her. She like uses her skill to put a debuff on an enemy, and then when you attack that enemy, you get skill points back. So she sort of generates skill points for your team. I think she can do a big single target buff with her ultimate. So she seems pretty cool. Interesting, there's 2 harmonies here, actually. 2 harmonies. So it's sort of setting you up. Like, let's say you are a new player and you pull for Yunli, you're going to be getting good harmonies. Lynx also seems very interesting. Lynx is specifically good with destruction and preservation units. And I think particularly with destruction with Yunli, Lynx increases their taunt value, makes them more likely to be attacked. So Lynx is very good with Blade. I think she'll be very good with Yunli. You can help make enemies attack Yunli more, and Yunli is taking less damage. She's counterattacking all the time. That's actually a great combo. So this looks to me actually like a very solid banner, right? You pull for Yunli, you get a great great abundance character for her. And it's interesting as like if you are a newer player as well and you don't have like Aventurine, actually a bit of counter synergy there, unless the enemies are doing blast attacks, because Aventurine would be taking the attacks and counter-attacking, but Yunli wouldn't be hit. So some counter synergy with that follow-up team. Lynx could fit in really well. It's kind of cool to see Lynx come back a bit as well. You get a free Lynx from MOC, I believe, or is it Pure Fiction? I can't remember which one. You get a free Lynx anyway, 1 copy. So that could be quite cool and open up some maybe mono quantum stuff a bit in the future as well. That's quite a good one. So yeah, I think Link's quite nice. Quite nice. But you could have Gallagher built up already for your break team, and then you could potentially get Lynx to go with Yunli and have 2 4-star sustains, which might be enough for most content. And then you're picking up some good harmonies as well. I'm actually not exactly sure, to be honest, what Yukong does. My understanding about Yukong is that she gets much, much, much better at E6. When she's 6th, Eidolon is a huge power spike. So that makes this banner kind of appealing. If you end up pulling for both of these characters, you might get then the E6 Yukong, and that could be really strong. I think E6 Yukong, I believe, can compete with pretty well, I believe, with some of the limited harmonies. So that's pretty enticing. I think, honestly, for a new player, it's looking pretty good. I will say, maybe Hua is going to be better than Lynx for Yunli. So Hua, I don't know how the energy boost works, but she restores energy with her ultimate, and you could use that. I don't know if that like gives Yunli absolutely tons, since she has 2 charges. I guess like it certainly wouldn't overfill, so that's good. They'd be a very good combo together as well, Yunli plus Hua, or you could just use Hua for your second team and put Lynx with Yunli and have that combo going for your first team. So pretty cool stuff. I think that's actually a very strong banner. For Hua though, in general, I'm not super sold on Hua. My issue with Hua is she is quite generic. And I think that is actually potentially a weakness. We know in the next patch, we are getting Lingsha. And the rumors are that she is going to be break focused. And I think you can already see with Gallagher, she looks like she's potentially directly power creeping Gallagher. We've already seen how strong Gallagher is. We see a similar thing with Aventurine, how strong he is building for follow-up. I think that seems to be the way the game is going, that sustain characters, and I think, again, Lynx comboing with these counterattack units like Blade and Yunli, right? I think sustain characters, preservation, or abundance that are building for a specific niche have more value moving forwards. It's something that Bailu, I love my Bailu, she's been great, she does a ton of healing, but she doesn't have any real particular niche, and that's a weakness, compared to Gallagher, so strong with the break teams. Hua has a similar problem, so does Fu Xuan actually a little bit. Hua does tons of healing, great, she cleanses loads of debuffs, so she's very good against enemies that do lots of debuffs, that's for sure. But like her ultimate boosts energy and boosts attack, now that's generally very good. Almost all the damage dealers in the game, apart from Break, want attack. Basically, everyone else wants attack. Energy is good for everybody. She's very, very good in general, but that's the problem I have with her. She's very general. And I'd be thinking, should you pull for Hua when Lingsha is coming really soon? And I would be very concerned that Lingsha is just going to be better. It's same thing, I feel like Aventurine compared to Fu Xuan. Aventurine is just better, right? And yeah, especially if you've got that break team, which you probably should have. Like if you got Ron May last patch and you've got Imaginary Trailblazer, like Lingsha could be insane. If she is break focused, she could be insanely strong and set you up really well. She might be just insanely strong in general. So I'm not super convinced about Hua, to be honest with you. I'm not super convinced. And I feel like, yeah, she's probably very good with Yunli, but you could maybe just run the Lynx with the Yunli and maybe get away with it. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. But for me, I feel like, and we're probably going to have an Aventurine rerun in the next couple of months as well. Like, I think you'd probably be better off skipping her and getting probably Lingsha and Aventurine. Seems better. Or then potentially a preservation unit in the future or something. I don't know. But I feel like for me, personally, as a newer player, both Hua and Fu Xuan are obviously very solid, but I feel like the newer sustains are simply, they seem like they're a bit better. They have more of a niche and therefore let you have an even stronger team when you build around that niche. And those niches aren't even that niche. Like, you know, follow up and break are pretty darn universal at the moment and very powerful. So yeah, but other than that, very strong banner. Excuse me. And then we've got their light cones. I think the light cones are also fairly niche. I actually really like the perfect timing one. I've used that. You can get that though for free from the light cone store. It's a pretty nice one. It gives you effect resistance. and it gives you more outgoing healing. So I actually find that quite nice to protect your healers from crowd control and get more healing out. It's quite decent. I think this is the Moles Welcome You. I don't remember what this does. This is, I think, the erudition one that makes your follow-ups better, which is, again, sort of decent. That none of these seem particularly essential, honestly. So yeah, the light cones, then I don't actually know what these ones do, so I won't talk about those right now. But yeah, they are the light cones. I think the general abundance light cones are very good, so I don't feel like you need Wawa's one. I'm not sure what it does though. And then I don't know what the new one does. Then we come to phase 2, which is Jiaoqiu and Sparkles come back actually really early. And then the 4 stars, we've Hook, Gwynaifin, and Arlen. These banners look a good bit worse. So I feel like if you're pulling for Jiaoqiu, it's pretty rough. Arlen is pretty useless. Hook is also pretty useless. And Gwynaifin, she's great, but he's the 5-star, as far as I can tell, he is the 5-star version of her. So I feel like if you're pulling for him, you're not really getting anything useful. It's actually kind of rough. So that feels real bad. Yeah, that feels real bad. So this is definitely for me. I'm like, yo, I'm skipping. See you next time. Bye-bye. Sparkle then. So I did a video recently talking about my account. Sparkle, for me, has been a fairly disappointing character, actually, simply because she has her best synergies with older characters. So, in particular, I'd say particularly Zila stands out as a fantastic synergy with Sparkle. Don Hung and Bibiter Lune, and then I'd say, Acheron E2 as well is very strong. But like, I just don't have those characters, right? Like Zila has not been run in the entire time I'm playing. And Bibiter Lune was run in the first patch I was playing, but I didn't get him because I got Dr. Ratio instead. And there's not been anything that synergizes well with Sparkle. Now, what is a big question mark for me is going, well, Fei Xiao is coming next patch. I wonder if maybe Sparkle could be like the best in slot harmony for Fei Xiao. She's a Wind Hunt character. Maybe. And that could be spicier. We could see some other reruns coming soon that could synergize well with her. I don't know. But I got Sparkle because I started around about that banner. And she's been decent, but not insane, because they just have not released any characters since then that have been being particularly good with her. So she's just been sort of sat there going, okay, she's great, but I've got no one to combo with her, really, that well. I got Jing Yuan, and that's cool, but he fits into lots of different teams. So yeah, that's the downside with Sparkle. But if you are a longer term player and you missed her first rerun and you've got the Zila or that you've got Bibiter Lune, very strong there. And there is the potential in the future for more characters to come that will really thrive off of Sparkle's buffs. But it's a little bit of a gamble. Like I would feel for a newer player, honestly, for a newer player, you could pull on phase 1, get yourself some of those 4-star harmonies and maybe be okay. Like, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this. I'm looking ahead to patch 2.5 as well and going like Lingsha looks insane. Fei Xiao hopefully is going to be insane as well. Those might be higher value pulls, honestly, than these. Jiaoqiu, again, he looks good for Acheron. But I feel like unless you're building Acheron, we'll see what the gameplay ends up being. He might be a must pull if you're an Acheron player. He's probably going to be your best in slot. Like, I don't see how it could be otherwise. So best in slot for Acheron. But if you're not building Acheron, That being said, Acheron is probably the best DPS in the game. Very universal. So it's a pretty safe pickup there. And we probably will see Acheron rerun in the next couple of months, it looks like. We'll see. Maybe even I could even see Acheron rerun next patch. I could see Fei Xiao Acheron. I could see that happening now, which is crazy, but I could see that. I could see that. But yeah, so that's sort of where we're at with those. Oh, I didn't mention these light cones. Actually, the light cones are actually pretty good for this one. So I don't know what his does, but Sparkle's light cone is actually really good. Sparkle's got a great light cone, very powerful on her. That's really nice. Then over here, Eyes of the Prey is brilliant, very good. Again, very good for any of your dot characters. Very, very nice. And this is a new one, the March one. I think they did talk about it in the stream, but I don't remember what they said. And then like this Destruction light cone is sort of generally okay. But yeah, new light cone. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but Eyes of the Prey is good. So it seems like pretty good for the light cones. So yeah, again, if you're like a hardcore Acheron main, could end up actually being fairly all right for you. All right, guys, then finally, let's take a look at March 7th in combat. So this is her new form. I think this is so cool. They even showed a cool animation of like changing her paths. So the way it works, it's the same March 7th character, same as Trailblazer. You can switch their path. Just March seems to have like a cool graphic to changing paths that Trailblazer doesn't have. Hopefully they add something for the Trailblazer in the future, because March is just kind of cooler. But yeah, you basically switch the same character, so her levels carry over. But obviously it's same as Trailblazer. The traces are totally separate. They're going to want different light cones and relics and whatnot. But yeah, so she is an imaginary hunt, which is pretty interesting. Let's click play. Let's take a look.
The hunt's basic attack deals imaginary damage.
My sword
When using her
zaps demons.
skill, March 7th selects a teammate as master and presents them with a special beverage to increase their speed.
I love that. That's hilarious. Here, have a cup of boba tea. Amazing. But yeah, big speed boost for your mat. That's pretty universally good. So that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. I think it also does other stuff as well, which they talk about in a second.
A good apprentice.
As a promising young student, March 7th has a keen understanding of her master's style. When her master launches an attack or ultimate, March 7th acquires charges. When charges reach a set number of stacks, she immediately takes action again and obtains an enhanced basic attack. Her enhanced basic attack deals set hits of damage to a target enemy, with a chance of dealing further hits.
Boom.
Just a chance?
She's a rookie, remember?
I mean, the animations of this character are so good. Brows be smitten, heart be bitten. I love it. They've captured, you know, when they teased the silhouette and they're like a legendary swordmaster coming, it was like, ooh, it could be a really badass character. And then it's like, it's March. So she's like, again, just so comical. They've done a great job. There's so much personality in the character. Like, March is a character that's really grown on me the more I've played this game. But yeah, so big single target damage. She definitely seems like she's going to work really well with follow-up teams. We had a blast attack there from Yunli, and March only got 1 stack. So it's not like Jade, where you want to be hitting multiple enemies. She actually seems, let's be real, seems kind of like a single target Jade, right? Jade speed boosts somebody and gets stacks the more enemies they hit. March speed boosts somebody and then gets stacks, just single stacks, and does single target damage, and Jade does AoE. She seems very, very, very like a single target Jade. So potentially big single target damage, likely to be very strong with other hunt characters that are typically doing multiple attacks or have high speed anyway. So they're getting lots of attacks in. Seems like you want characters that attack as often as possible, so she can do follow-ups. She definitely seems like sort of almost a replacement as well for free Dr. Ratio. She seems like maybe like a 4-star Ratio is the sort of vibe I get. Where she's doing follow-up attacks and she wants to be combo with other... Yeah, interesting.
Her moves might be a little rusty, but they can surprise you all the same. Depending on her master's path, her specific attacks possess additional effects.
Yeah, so this is very interesting as well. She does different things.
That's right. For example, masters on the paths of destruction, erudition, or the hunt can cause specific attacks to deal additional damage.
Okay, so straightforward enough. Hunt, destruction, erudition, make them your master, you get additional damage. I imagine that's what you're going to be doing most of the time as well. Most of the time, your damage dealer is the one you're going to be putting the buff on. Seems more so, like I said, more so tailored to hunt, who've got very frequent attacks. Erudition, kind of. Erudition tend to be more used anyway in pure fiction. They're not as good in these more single target modes, but then again, maybe March could provide a good single target damage boost, kind of like Topaz with Jiaoqiu, for instance. Okay, makes Jiaoqiu a bit, gives some single target damage to supplement good AoE damage, so maybe there. Destruction could be okay as well. They take a lot of extra turns, so that could work too for some of them. Pretty interesting. So I imagine you're going to do that most of the time.
And masters on the paths of nihility, harmony, preservation, or abundance can raise the toughness reduction of specific attacks.
Again, this is very interesting. So when you make your master, the other paths your master, you do more toughness break. So potentially building into a break team. So Gallagher definitely seems strong. Gallagher attacks very frequently. Because he gets an extra turn with his ultimate. His ultimate is an attack as well. So that could actually work fairly well. Aventurine's a bit awkward. Aventurine attacks potentially very often. But he's typically more of a follow-up type team character and boosting your crit damage with his ultimate. So boosting March's toughness damage would have some use. Like, that could actually be quite strong in something like Apocalyptic Shadow. You're being attacked a lot. Aventurine is countering a lot. March helps you to break them. That could be quite a strong combo. Lingsha could also stand out, much like Gallagher. If Lingsha is very strong, if she attacks a lot, maybe. I will say that the sustains, nihility, etc., harmonies, especially harmonies, they don't really attack very often. So I'd say like Imaginary Trailblazer could stand out. If they're imaginary weak, there you go. March is imaginary. Imaginary Trailblazer is imaginary. Okay, great. We can break them pretty quickly. March is getting bonus toughness damage. Good for super break, etc. The problem is Imaginary Trailblazer sort of just attacks once per turn. That doesn't have any follow-up attacks or counter attacks or anything. So you might not build up the March stacks very much. So there's definitely, yeah, she seems, you have to pick her teammates carefully, I would say. It seems like you have to pick her teammates carefully.
Putting learning into practice. Where do I find an apprentice?
After using her ultimate, March 7th can deal damage to a target enemy while improving her next enhanced basic attack.
Cool.
And for those who were wondering what having March as an apprentice is like, there you have it.
Boom. Love
March
the animation.
7th is humble and learns from all her allies. During exploration...
The ultimate, by the way, was single target, so that's cool. Again, very, very single target focused character.
For every time a teammate uses their technique, March 7th acquires a charge at the start of the next battle.
That's cool.
When using her own technique, she regenerates energy at the start of the next battle.
It must be
interesting. So her technique, again, seems quite focused towards open world and simulated universe. It doesn't seem so useful for MOC. I guess it just means you go in with some extra stacks at the start of the fight and a bit of extra energy. It's not too bad. But not too crazy either. But yeah, she looks great.
Privilege.
As a free character, honestly, she looked really good. She looks like a lot of fun. I think she'll be a very strong combo with Yunli. So I think for a new player coming in, grabbing the Yunli banner, you know, and then you can have Yunli with March. In fact, both forms of March should be okay with Yunli, actually, because I think March, when she puts a shield on someone, she put a shield on Yunli, and yeah, would make them more likely to be attacked. It's not a terrible combo. But yeah, I think, you know, regular March 7th Hunt form with Yunli is a strong combo, right? Yunli constantly counterattacking. Every time she does, March gets to attack. Big single target damage from March. Throw in that Lynx as well from the Yunli banner, and you've got yourself a really solid team. Well set fairly early on. So seems very similar to the old Imaginary Trailblazer Ron May Gallagher from last patch. For players new in this patch, again, you've got yourself a pretty strong combo there. So yeah, not bad. Actually seems like a fairly new player friendly banner, at least in the first half. The second half a bit weaker. March doesn't have, I'd say, particularly strong synergies with, like, okay with Sparkle, but Sparkle's more the hyper carry stuff. March is definitely a dual DPS type character more so. Fei Xiao, breaking doesn't really seem like March's forte. She definitely seems more in tune with, I think she'd be good with both Hua or Yunli, honestly. So yeah, interesting.
To have an apprentice with such powers of perception.
Well, get this.
Oh, and this is the animation for them swapping over.
In the version 2.4
yeah, I think we can march it at this point. We can mute it at this point, but here it shows they're swapping over, which is pretty cool. But yeah, there we go. Animation is sick. There's your look at the upcoming patch and some of the big stuff. I honestly think this looks pretty cool. I'm most excited for Yunli. March 7th is interesting to me. Like, I already have Topaz and Dr. Ratio, so I'm not convinced that she's going to be an amazing pull or a necessary character to build for me, but I'm certainly intrigued. Then they showed some other stuff that, like, this looked really fun. You're going to get March Eidolons for free. It looked like 3 Eidolons. I wonder if there'll be more in the next patch, but 3 Eidolons for free from March. You're basically training her up. It looks like actually quite a fun event. That looked awesome. Then there's another event where you've got trash cans. Now, I was intrigued by this, where the trash cans, you would basically, one person in your team is like building up your trash cans, and then the trash cans do stuff. Like, I love the derpy Trailblazer face on them, and then the trash cans join in. Pretty interesting. I mean, I did a speculation a while ago that could be quite cool for Sunday. I don't want to give any story spoilers here, but I think that sort of thing could fit pretty well with a Sunday character in the future, right? Where, you know, summoning in like little angel things behind him that then join in the attack. I think that would be quite appropriate. So I'm certainly intrigued by that potential. That got my attention. Looks like a fun event. And yeah, like I said, the March event that's going to be going on as well. I'm training her up. And yeah, then there's going to be some, it looks like some sort of Japanese author. And then they did announce there's going to be, where did they put it? Oh yeah, here. That there's going to be some sort of, in Q3 2025. It's like a year away, but a collaboration with Fate Stay Night and Limited Blade Works. I think it's like an anime. I've never seen it or heard of it, but maybe that's quite exciting. It's like a year away, so and I'm sure I'll learn what it actually is before that comes. But there you go. I think it looks like a cool patch. Actually, yeah, it looks really fun. I think the story looks super fun. I think the characters are interesting. I do think Phase 2 looks a bit questionable. I feel like unless you're an Acheron main, I'm not super sold on that. I definitely think Phase 1. I think Yunli is the character to pull this patch. I think Hua got a lot of competition these days. Sparkle could maybe be good, but again, as a newer player, is there good stuff to put with Sparkle? I don't know. Like, I think that Ron May from recently, very recently, is a much better 5-star limited support at the moment. Many more teams that combo with Ron May that they've released recently for newer players. So that's my thoughts on that. Guys, let me know. What did you think about the live stream? What do you think about all the news? Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.